Mm.
just in one spot, and I know that there's someone there guiding me. Like the rest of the room is
Mhm.
hot, but there's like just one cold spot in front of me, and it's like I know there's someone there guiding me. I can feel the support.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And as Jesse said, the awareness of it is what's so valuable because it's there for everybody. But it's as our awareness increases that we can make more use of it.
Like a few months ago, I was sitting on my bed on my own in my flat, and I felt someone touch my back, like proper like a hand on my back, and I turned around and no one was there.
Mm. Mm.
Begin to listen to life differently.
Mm.
It's just opening space for coulds.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
But that is only done in the awareness.
Yeah.
Or really where we've let go of the judgments.
Mm. Which are the charges, I guess.
Yeah,
That's why I found that concept of yours so useful.
they're easier to begin seeing in others.
Mm-hmm.
We, as we begin to hear how other people are charged, then we begin to see where we are charged.
Mm. I just have to go and do something. I'll be back in a minute. Jesse, do you mind if I read that little paragraph again that I read before Ian came in? So, Ian, this is a little paragraph that was written by a new friend that my daughter has made. And this young woman she's got an Instagram account. And she posts quite openly about her experiences. And this is something that came from one of her days. Nothing is yours, and everything comes through to you from source. To protect yourself and your creations is to believe in a reality where it is possible to be under threat. Yet every trigger is an opportunity to grow and evolve. There are no threats.
I can't remember the words you used, Ian, earlier, but the dark part of the dark night, I think is what it is.
Dark night of the soul.
Dark night of the soul. Now, I've experienced it, like became aware of mine. And when I did that, I could see the power that it can play in my life. And it was dark because it was misdirected. I was using it, right? The only way I knew how, but it was in the wrong way. That's why I relate to it as the dark, like the darkness of it.
I've just been seeing quite a few posts on Facebook with people saying they're going for a dark night of the soul, and yeah, got me wondering.
I think it takes us to our deepest wounds. So there's there's a readiness to go to there and see it. Because that's exactly what it is. To see it is then to be to work to understand it. Because it has to do so much with our patterns. Because our whole life has been based on it. On that as an aspect of it. The best way I would explain mine would be the devil with a heart that was protecting a baby.
That's a really good description, Tess.
You said, Jessica, when you went without that sort of the soul, you were misdirecting it. So how do you redirect it now?
So that I notice, so that I don't orientate like I had always orientated. It has to do with money and power and greed. So then I know when those are involved, the old pattern wants to be at the top. So then for me, it's when it can come out, well, like beauty and positive and inclusive and with through love and compassion. And it's like, oh, then I know that I'm not over there.
So it's felt.
So it's self. For me, it appears to be, I think you said it earlier, like it appears to be my ego self, yes. Because it's so deep into how I saw I needed to be successful, belong, get love, fit in. It was my way of seeing the world. And that's why that dark night is only my way. But like how it developed for me is gotta be similar for how their specific dark night developed for them. And when we begin to see the power in that, it's like, oh, I mean, that was for me. It was like, oh, wait, it's not here to hurt me, to scare me, right? It's not dark at all. Just how I've wrapped it up is why it's dark. So I wasn't allowing any light into it, but only when we see it can we see, how do I let light into this?
Mm-hmm.
How do I create room for the light?
I think for me, it wasn't the actual thing, it was what meaning I put onto it.
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean about me?
Yes.
It wasn't actually the
Re-
thing itself, you know.
It's so, the meaning is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the dreams. It's like, oh, what's the meaning of that dream?
Mm-hmm.
In meditative spaces, I can get some really interesting visions, the best that I could call them.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Have been tremendous lessons, many of them. All allowing me to see my limited perspective.
Mm.
When I see it in myself, I see it in my parents. Like I've been seeing it in myself, and then I talk to my dad, and I can see it in him. It's like evident. On my mom, it's like evident.
Yeah. Mhm. And so obvious too, right? So obvious. I mean, I say that with laughter because so obvious. It's like I don't understand why it's not so obvious to you.
Mm-hmm.
Forgetting that for years I lived in the pattern and didn't see it myself.
Mm.
Why? Because we say always we like fight being like our parents.
Mm.
Yet we are. We can't help it. See, only it's like how we know. I mean, when we take a step out of it and look at it, it's like, no wonder. Of course, it can only be that way. But when we're in it, oh God, not at all.
I think it's allowed me more compassion and understanding. Like when I talk to my mom or dad and I see it, I feel more compassion for them because I
Yeah.
see it. And then because I feel more compassion, I'm able to talk to them more.
Mm-hmm.
And create more space and see more and help him see it in his pattern. Because
Like I was
you,
talking,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, like I was talking to my mom, and everything was about safety. It's not safe to get on a bus. It's not safe for a woman to walk out on her own. It's not safe for me to go on the beach. Like everything was about safety, and I was like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
I can see what wooden you've got, Mum.
And I just make aware the level in which you are listening.
Mm.
Which is really at the depth of what other humans want. It is how we know we are loved, that we belong, that we're safe, is when people listen. And why we feel we're not is because, like, not safe, not belong, not loved, is because people don't know how to listen. That's the illness of our society.
Mm. I was just thinking that learning to listen with that wider lens and increasing the awareness through that is what allows us to experience what we experience when we are together and we listen to the silence.
Mm. Thanks for a beautiful call. I'm heading off now. Have a beautiful day.
You too,
Much love.
Ian. Bye bye.
Oh, you're still here, huh?
Yes, I was.
Good. What a good morning, huh? Good call.
Yes, it was. It was good questions, right?
Mhm.
Very good questions.
Yeah, so-
Are you ready to go off, Jess?
I'm just getting ready. I got time to speak. Well, you want?
Hmm.
Otherwise, we can go our way.
I always grab time when I can. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you said last night you'd listened or started listening to that podcast episode I sent you, right?
Yes.
With Dan Siegel, yeah. I finished it last night and it was I was so glad that I found it. It was really, really so lovely. And that's the sense that I got from him when I first found him, you know. And I can't remember. I must have listened to an interview on the radio with him with CBC. CBC's used to have such wonderful documentaries. Some of the programs still have, but the funding has been cut so much. It's so awful. Anyway, and I think that's when I bought Mindsight. When I first read it. And it's so interesting for me to loop back, to see that I had access to it at that point, and it had a deeply, it impacted me very deeply because there were overlaps for me with yoga, with yoga teachings, and then to revisit it now again, and the richness of it. And just realizing that I also can perceive it in some ways different to what I could 14 years ago. And that thing of time, how he speaks about that accident, and then that experience for him was so profound. And as he recovers, he goes back to the life that he was living before the experience. And it's only in conversation with somebody who recognizes that vibration in him and pulls it out for him again.
Yeah, for him to. It's like I go through and listen for it, right? It's like what I'm working really is what stands out. And so as I say that, of course that's obvious, right? And and so it's like, because if I look for the common threads, because the common threads lead to the foundation. right? And it's not for validation that it's right, even though that would have been a past version of myself, right? It would have been to look, I'm right. It's not like that anymore, but it's more of like just a curiosity of, oh, like what is at the base, at the foundation.
Mm. Mm-mm.
And, it's like to hear yes and as a compassion, right? As a space to be with people. Like everything in the background is just love.
Exactly.
The charge. He speaks to charge. He spoke to time and space. And it's like, oh, these are just places in which that we listen for ourselves and for others, where where they are limiting, not in a helpful way to reveal the limits, the judgments, the constraints.
Yes, and also the structure when you think about it,
All it is the structure is the meaning creates the structure. Yeah.
Yes. And then when you have awareness of structure, then you can facilitate the structure to increase the meaningfulness of the experience.
Rather than the meaning creating it.
Yeah. Yeah. And not that not that one is better than the other. I think it's just a different timing. I think maybe the meaning is the first step.
In one of them, you're giving the power away, and the other one, you're like controlling the power.
Well, I think you're managing it more, right? You've got hold of the steering wheel, put it that way.
Yeah. One's happening to you, and the other one you're facilitating. You're moving it. Which is directly, as like a victim, right? And I use that word lightly here, but it's like victim to the circumstances or creating the circumstances. Circumstances are the same. It's just the view from which we're just looking at them.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And whether we see through them and around them, or whether we only see them. When I was thinking this morning also, just even in languaging, and we speak about this often, how limiting languaging is. Because I was, my immediate response to Ian's question when he came in, is this real or not real? And then, saying that some people say it is and other people say it isn't. And what I noticed with that was that before I would go only to that concept, dark night of the soul. And now I go to, well, is anything real? What do we mean by real? Why is only that thing not real? Or why is it real? And just in that, I could feel myself going to the edges of the words in a way, and the concepts, and just releasing it all together, almost so that you don't have a language,
Your mechanic in that was to have them tell you what the meaning of it is. And see, people don't do that. People regurgitate what other people tell them, so they don't take a meaning in it.
Mm. Mm. That word mindset is it's so useful.
Aware of aware of awareness.
Mm.
It's like our like our emotions, our feelings, are they real?
Mm-hmm. I was thinking I was going to look up in the dictionary what the definition of real is. I haven't done that for a long time.
It's like anything that's perceived would be real then.
Mm.
Real, if it could happen, could only happen in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Jess, did you ever have that children's story about the Velveteen Rabbit?
I don't believe so.
It's a story about toys, and they've got life and they talk to each other, and I forget the plot, but the rabbit is scared of not being loved. And the rocking horse explains to him and says to him, the more fur you lose, the more you know that you have been loved. It's a really, really, really sweet story. And so in terms of what is real and what's not real, what goes through my mind is, like you said, it can only be real from moment to moment. And the unreal has got way more transparency in it, and the boundaries are more porous. But that is more akin to the vibration of love, I think, and love and compassion. I think the porousness of it, that the porousness is on the edges, but in the middle, there's that stable vibration. And that's what you recognize it. That's what gives you the recognition, is that core. What's at the heart of it?
Our brain becomes lazy in making sense of what it is, which speaks to Siegel's experience, right, where he didn't know, like, the meaning of things had disappeared after his accident, right? It's like, water, I don't know what water is. So it was like as he spoke the beginner's mind. And just realizing how much he had contained things in bringing them into existence for what they are. And then how our lazy brain does that. And we can miss a lot behind it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've done. I've missed so much. And it was interesting for me listening to that. I'll just say this quickly. So when I had my transplant, I think it was 4 days. I think it was on the 4th day that Bruce brought Kalis. And by that time, I'd been able to drink water with ice blocks in it. And I can remember saying to her that the water and the ice blocks tasted like strawberry, what's the Italian? Gelato. And she looked at me and she said to me, "How's that possible?" And I said to her, "Well, it feels like there was nothing. And when there's nothing and you get something, you can make it up. And then you really feel it." And she was only 9 when I had the transplant. And when we were talking yesterday, she said to me, "I remember what you said to me about the glass of water." And I asked her, what incidents had her remembering it. And she said when she went up north to the reservation, the one that she's in. And she saw how little people had. And that some people could value and strive for the few things that they did get. And other people were just overwhelmed by the nothingness of what there was. And I was really quite surprised. It's like you talk about planting seeds. I didn't think that she would remember that and then apply it.
Yeah.
And she's doing that at the moment now to herself, and for herself. I don't know that she and Austin are going to make it. They could, but it's not looking good at the moment. One never knows, right?
Yeah. Not that they have to.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yes, I've got there's clients of mine or the ex-clients of mine in Australia. The one, I don't know if you remember, but I saw the guy for a little bit and then I just, there wasn't enough of an exchange of energy and I bailed out. But the wife I speak to very often, and she shared a meme with me the other day. It's somebody that she follows on Instagram, and it's this photo of a mountain range with a waterfall, thin, narrow waterfall falling down. The picture's absolutely stunning. And the writing, the quote on it is, "You will make it," and then a little bit further underneath it, so "you will make it" is right at the top of the waterfall. Then, like 3/4 of the way down the waterfall is, "or you won't." And then at the very bottom of the picture is one of those two. And it made me think so much of Bruce's Zen teacher that said to him, "Bruce, up is up and down is down." And that's it. Nothing more.
You'll make it or you won't.
Yeah. And then what's next?
Yep.
Right. Okay, I'll stop bugging you. I've had enough for today.
Sounds good. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk later.